absolutely needful on February 11. It is worthwhile to remember that the options for independence that were presented to our people on February 11, 1961, did not include the most popular option for independence as a stand-alone country for the southern Cameroons and Amazonia. Our people were limited to the choice between joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria as one of its states or joining La République du Cameroun in a two-state federation with equal status. By the will of the majority of our people, we agreed to join La République du Cameroun. Like in a typical childbirth, it is very important we note that at the birth of our nation, there was no midwife who had our backs, and so our umbilical cord was not cut. We were attached to the United Kingdom, but she undermined us. There was no one to wipe the blood from the baby nation. The vampire spouse was pleased with the blood it saw. It was pleased with the umbilical cord it saw, dry on the side of the United Kingdom and wilting on the side of the southern Cameroons. The vampire, the predator, and her friends thought that they had won, and that they would snap it off at any time to kill every language and culture that came with a trusteeship. They were wrong also. God was on our side. He caused them to focus on the superficial looks of quote-unquote bloody unwanted baby and take her for granted. La République du Cameroun tossed champagne to her annexation plan and went straight to setting that in motion. In their haste, two major omissions happened. Number one, no union agreement was signed for the loose federation. And number two, no new boundaries were established between the two countries. The Franco-British Declaration of 1919, also known as the Milner-Simon Declaration, showing the frontier separating the British Cameroons from the French Cameroon, was left untouched. Again, God was on our side indeed. But what does this mean? What does it mean? It means that the southern Cameroons maintain our physical borders, our culture, our people, and our national identity under the leadership of a prime minister. God preserved us when no one had our backs. Think about that. Now, on May 20, 1972, they destroyed the Federation. It was gone. And by November 6, 1982, Ahijo was replaced by Paul Biya so that he could accelerate the assimilation of the southern Cameroons. Without getting his ducks in a row, Mr. Biya rushed La République du Cameroun's restoration law through Parliament on February 4th, not the date, February 4th, 1984. The restoration law in question refers to the transition process or the transition from La République du Cameroun originally to the Federal Republic of Cameroon, to the United Republic of Cameroon, and back to La République du Cameroun. Please note this, February 4, 2024. Today is the anniversary of this law. What that means to us, what does that mean to us? The law indicates the timeline. They seceded, they left the Federation on February 4, 1984. The restoration law means that the southern Cameroons has been a floating nation since February 4, 1984. Their restoration law means that La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons have been roommates with no common lease or legal strings binding them since February 4th, 1984. After 40 years in the wilderness, it is time to enter the promised land. Again, it is time to enter the promised land. And do we have any legal basis for the argument to enter the promised land, to return to the pre-1961 self-governing status? Of course, yes. Sequel to the passing of the restoration law, Barrister at law in President Emeritus of the Cameroon Bar Association, Fongum Goji Dinka, filed a motion against the Yaoundé administration in the Bamenda High Court. In the motion, he pointed out that by passing the restoration law, La République du Cameroun had seceded from the federal structure and had left the Southern Cameroons as an independent nation. Fongoji Dinka named the territory he was referring to as the Southern Cameroons, no longer British Cameroons, but Southern Cameroons, then Amazonia. Three things happened as a result of the lawsuit, and we must remember that they are all linked to February 4th, 1984. Number one, the Bamenda High Court handed down judgment in favor of Fongoji Dinka. It is worthwhile to repeat here that the favorable judgment means that La République du Cameroun seceded from the federal structure, and that automatically released the Southern Cameroons from any union with La République du Cameroun. Number two, the Yaoundé administration appealed the Bamenda judgment and referred the case to their own military tribunal in Yaoundé, thinking that the military tribunal would accuse the plaintiff Fongoji Dinka of maybe sedition and then turn him over to be killed or to serve a sentence of life imprisonment. To Yaoundé's greatest dismay and surprise, of course, the military tribunal ruled that the plaintiff's case represented the true spirit and interpretation of the Constitution of the United Republic of Cameroon. The military tribunal therefore upheld the decision of the Bamenda High Court. Number three, Yaoundé wasn't done just yet, not at all. The administration appealed the decision of the military court by referring the case to the Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court in Yaoundé upheld the decision of the military tribunal based on a constitutional provision that does not allow any other court in Cameroon to reverse the decision of a military tribunal. God again twisted the arm of the Pharaoh of Cameroon on February 4th, 1984, and Pharaoh let the Southern Cameroons go, and worship their God. But disunity, greed, ego, and surrogacy, among others, has since set in causing our people to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. It is time to wake up as one people, one Southern Cameroons, one British Southern Cameroons, one Amazonia, one under Indele, one under Foncha, to fight, one fight towards one goal, which is our sovereignty. We crossed over on February 11, 1961, to join La République du Cameroun. we were asked to go back. Again, we were asked to go back on February the 4th, 1984 by La République du Cameroon. And 40 years later, today, February the 4th, 2024, we must acknowledge that the Lord shall lead us with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night as we cross over back to an independent nation which reflects the popular request of our people as of 1961. Fellow comrades, let's understand this, please. Let's understand that this work is already accomplished. It is done in the spirit realm. And what is required of us is to unite and speak with one voice and watch God. Watch God. We are not being naive because we know that our God, who was able to strengthen the hands of Gideon, is the same God who will strengthen the arms of a small and united southern Cameroons. I'm referring to the Amazonian army, our diplomacy, and our humanitarian efforts. I want to thank and give all gratitude to Kwame Mukong, who is the original author of the scripts. Thank you for watching. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening and welcome to News Talk, coming to you as usual from the great state of Texas, Houston, Texas precisely. I'd like to welcome all of you tuning in from Ground Zero, where we'll call the Federal Republic of Amazonia, and all of you in the diaspora, of course. I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you for tuning in. Please, as usual, if you are watching by way of the social media, YouTube, Facebook, do me the favor and go ahead and quickly hit the share button and let us populate this platform. Let all those out there who were not aware that the anchor man was coming live today, let them know I am not just live, I am indeed alive. I am alive. So please do me that favor quickly and hit your share button. I have a very, very informative, educative, and of course entertaining broadcast to bring to you today with the veteran journalist Eric Chinje. So please, before I bring him in, do me the favor, hit your share button, and let the platform get quickly saturated with viewers. And while you do that, I'd like to remind everybody in Amazonia that we have declared, the interim government and all the fighting forces in Amazonia have declared a lockdown in view of the so-called Youth Day, 11 February, that is being organized and imposed upon us by La République du Cameroon. In view of that, we have declared a lockdown for all of Amazonia beginning Saturday, February the 10th through to Monday, the 12th. And Monday happened to coincide with our regular ghost town dates. So we want everybody on the ground to know this. Now, some people I learned they are calling for Ghost Town to start on the 6th. We cancel that. We reject that, and we've made it very clear. These lockdowns and Ghost Towns are meant to be symbolic demonstrations of our resolve to stand up for our freedoms. They are not meant to punish our people. They are not meant to take away their livelihoods. I'm talking about their trades and businesses from them. And so we agree that anything less than 3 days become punishment, pain to our own people, and we do not want to see that happen. So we want everybody out there on ground zero to please ignore anything so-called 6 days or 7 days lockdown. That is not coming from yours truly, and of course it is not also coming from the restoration fighters on the ground. The restoration fighters have announced a lockdown beginning Saturday the 10th and Sunday the 11th, which happens to be the Youth Day precisely. And then Monday, which happens to be our regular Ghost Towns Day. We have asked churches to please let your members stay home. Let your members stay home on Sunday, because you never know what the forces, the occupational forces of La République du Cameroun can do. When you step out on Sunday, they may pick you up, force you to the grandstand, maybe put a uniform on you and ask you to partake in the march past. So please, you don't want to endanger yourself that way. Stay home on Saturday. If you're a business guy, stay home on Saturday. Churches remain closed on Sunday, and then Monday, the regular goes down. Tuesday, you go back to your business. And that is that. That is all about it. Please remain safe out there. I won't take you, I won't have you waiting for long. Please do not touch your remote. I'll be right back. In the meantime, continue hitting your share button, please. I'll be right back. Thank you for staying put in there, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Chinje. Eric Chinje is a household name in both Cameroon, La République du Cameroun, and Ambazonia. For those of you who were there in the old days of good journalism, courageous, impeccable journalism in CRTV Bamenda, he was either, when you saw him, he was either anchoring the news or sitting in interviews and sometimes also translating for Paul Biya, the president of Cameroon. But those good old days, they are long gone. I'm talking about the days of Sam Nuvala Fonkem, Fai Tashitu Henry Foye, Asonglefa Inkemleke, Charlie Indicia, Bo Herbert, Ofege, and the rest. You can name them, Luka Nanga, all those guys. Those are the glorious days of CRTV, not what we have today. But Eric has since moved on from there. He is now on his own and taking care of his own life as a private citizen. 7 years ago, a war broke out, a conflict broke out in the territory. Now we have what we call Ambazonia and La République du Cameroun. Eric has been on the middle. We can't say he belongs to La République du Cameroun or whether he belongs to Ambazonia. But recently, an organization that they put together, Cameroon Peace Initiative, came forth with a survey that they conducted showing that 51%, no, let me put it this way, that basically Ambazonians are divided as to what form of government they would want to see. Not in Ambazonia, but in Cameroon, considering one and indivisible Cameroon. And so they came out with this survey, and the survey states that 51% of Ambazonians would want a country, an independent country of their own, and the rest prefer either a federal Cameroon, a unitary Cameroon. A federal Cameroon with either 10 or 2 states or 4 states, and then a unitary Cameroon in the status quo that we have today. That I would like to read a paragraph or two from that release. And the release says, the survey consisted of 5 options that gave respondents an opportunity to identify the governmental structure they would want to see in Cameroon: a decentralized unitary state, a 2-state federation, a 10-state federation, maintenance of the status quo, that is, the centralized government and 10 administrative units, and a return to the pre-unification status and independence for the former West Cameroon. The respondents consisted exclusively, they said, they wrote, of Anglophone, where we are called Ambazonians anyway, but it says the respondents consisted exclusively of Anglophone Cameroonians residing in urban and rural areas in the country and in the diaspora. 76% of them are men and 24% are women. 51% of the respondents advocate for separation. 51%, ladies and gentlemen, respondents advocate for separation and statehood, while 41% stand for federalism of some form within current borders. This survey, the first phase of a broader effort to end the violence and find a peaceful resolution of the ongoing conflict, was conducted online using google.com, according to the statement coming from CPI, Cameroon Peace Initiative. Now, this is the problem that I found in this survey. Number one, 76% of those surveyed are men, and only 24% are women. Number two, this is the second, this is about the third survey that has been conducted in the course of the 7 years and counting of this Ambazonian struggle for independence. The first was conducted by the late Cardinal Toomey, and the second conducted by the CD and the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. Now, both surveys indicated that at least 80% of Ambazonians, what they call Anglophones, want a country of their own. It is only in this recent survey that we'll find out that only 51% want independence for what they call Anglophone Cameroon. Those are the problems I find in this survey, and which is the reason why I invited Eric, who is one of the founders of Cameroon Peace Initiative, to come here and answer some of the questions for us. Eric, it's a great pleasure to have you back here, sir.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, your survey is quite interesting, very, very interesting. First of all, let me start with your organization. Cameroon Peace Initiative is an organization that is essentially made up of or created by Francophone Cameroonians. I think you are the only Anglophone, as you would like to call it, who is a member or founder of that NGO. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, totally wrong.
That's correct?
You're wrong, Chris.
Oh, I'm wrong. Okay, explain if I'm wrong, please.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me well. The CPI is made up of Cameroonians of all origins. And if you want to go with the appellation Anglophones and Francophones, there are many Anglophones. There's myself, that you obviously know. We've got others like Julius Wami, whom you know, Adamu Musa, whom you know, but that's just a limited. I'm naming those that are known probably by most of your audience. But there are lots of other people in different parts of the world who are members, in Cameroon itself, in Guinea, for example, in England, in South Africa. There are quite a few non-French-speaking Cameroonians who are members of the CPI.
I was going by the list I found on the website. Three founders out of the two. There's one Chuenko, Dr. Chuenko, somebody, one
Right.
Ogana, somebody, and then you as the founder. Are there other
No,
founders other than the three of you?
No, there are three of us who are founders of this. There is the chairperson, Dr. Maximilien Onga Nana, who is obviously, from his name you can tell maybe that he's from the Western Province or the Western region as they call it now. And then there is Dr. Chienko, a medical doctor, Konstantin Chienko, who is Anglophone, but originally his parents were from the former French-speaking Cameroon. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, there's Chienko, who's midway the two. He's Anglophone by culture, but Francophone by his ancestry. Again, who's not Anglophone or Francophone by ancestry. We are not. I'm not even an Anglophone per se. I am my.
So
if you go into my if you go into my ancestry, well, if you go into my ancestry, you'll find a lot of my folks are from Bamenda and from the west, what is today the Western region. So I'm a mix of both. Chienku is also a mix of both. His parents were in Kumba, where he was born, and he's an Anglophone as such. And then Nana, Maximilian, Dr. Nana is Francophone. He was born in Bangante, I think. So it's a mix. I mean, we can argue we can go into the details of the historical details of all of this, but the fact is that we thought, the three of us, that we cannot be abroad and continue to be spectators to what's going on in our country, in the geography of our origin, and continue to see the decline, the suffering, the pain, the death, and not do anything about it. So we've had this organization, we've intervened, we've tried to send support as quietly as we can. We've not invited any interventions, we've not made any announcements. This is the first time we're coming out, but we've been working to support efforts, on the ground, raising money, working with organizations in different parts of the world to provide some support to folks in Cameroon. So yes, we are a very Cameroonian organization. And I'm not going to get into another war here over language. And please don't insist on my referring to Ambazonia. I'm referring to Cameroon because that's what we're working on. I totally have empathize with what you're doing and understand where you're coming from with Ambazonia, but there's no country in the world recognized as such. You know that. So let us make it easy for both of us. You can talk about Ambazonia, I'll talk about Cameroon, and we go on with this interview.
We will come to that. We will come to that. My reference to the founding members of CPI has to do with the fact that when you realize that the three of you who founded the organization, as you have just said, relating to your background, you are both from Babenda and somewhere from the western region of
my grandparents. That's my ancestry, actually.
Your ancestry, correct. The same thing with Chuenko and is it Nana, something like that. The question becomes, why? I mean, every Ambazonian will be suspicious that these guys cannot be trusted because they don't have their roots, their umbilical cord in Ambazonia. Why should we believe they are surveyors?
Well, that's up to them. Look, I'm not interested I find it unfortunate that instead of talking about our development, what we do to make life easier for our people, we are constantly preoccupied by things that ultimately do not advance the ordinary citizen on the streets in Bamenda and in Kumba and so on. It doesn't matter where I'm from. I mean, the British that you people want to latch onto, are they from Cameroon? Do you have an Englishman who has his roots in that geography? I fully, as I say, I empathize with what has led us here. I've given interviews where I've given all the arguments why Anglophones in Cameroon felt marginalized enough to want to leave that country. But as I say, I've said often in my own interviews, I was born a Cameroonian and I'll die one. Nobody in that country has the right to deny me my Cameroonian ancestry and nationality. Nobody. So
No,
I
only you
want to
can
leave it
deny
at that.
yourself. Nobody wants to deny you.
Exactly.
But when you
Exactly.
work
Only
for
I can deny myself.
CRTV, when you work for CRTV, were you consider or did you consider yourself an Anglophone journalist or a Francophone journalist? Because I know those barriers, those walls have been there from time immemorial. You're either identified with one way or the other way.
I have never been a Francophone journalist. I've never even attempted to take my existence, to draw my existence from some French culture. No, I've always been an Anglophone, if you want to put it that way. I was born one and I'll remain one. I was born in Bamenda. I grew up in Bamenda. My parents are from Santa and from Batu. That's where I'm from. And I claim my Anglophone with pride. My Anglophoneness, because I grew up, speaking English. But it doesn't make me an Englishman, and I definitely do not, would not subscribe to whatever seeks to make me an Englishman, because I never was. I've spent some time in England, but just as a part, for work and related activities.
Which is why the question, why should people believe your survey, becomes very important if you do not consider yourself Amazonian. Of course, you consider yourself Anglophone, but not
They don't
Amazonian.
have, yes, I will not even insist. This survey is a survey. We're trying to get a sense of what people are thinking about. I went
Okay?
into it thinking it'll be, I wasn't even sure what the results would be. I didn't have any, there were no preconditions. We just talked to people and we tried to be as scientific as we could in our outreach. And ultimately, it came out, I was quite surprised to realize that um, over 50%, even though it's within the margin of error, the 50%, but 50% easily said they wanted an independent state. That's a very important finding. But what it also says is that there are 50%, and you must also admit that there are also 50% of the Anglophones who responded to this survey who want something else. Some want a 10-state federation, others want a two-state federation, others want a unitary state with the same, with the current administrative arrangements. These, these things are real. You cannot, I'm not going to dictate to anybody. I've never wanted to subscribe to dictatorship anywhere. So we've done a survey. I think what we need to do is to reinforce that survey, and we will now be reaching out to governments, not only the government in Cameroon, but governments in Africa and around the world who are interested in the Cameroon situation. We'll be taking our the survey findings to them and urge them to help us find a solution to this problem, because it cannot go on. And I'm not sure what the strategy is for obtaining any of these. I'm not sure what the strategy is for creating an Amazonian republic. If I knew there was a viable strategy for doing that, besides killings, kidnappings, and a lot of talk, if I knew that there was some viable way to obtain an independent Southern Cameroons, I'll subscribe to that. But
I will
I'm
come
still to
back to
see the
that.
viable option.
I hope that is not an indictment, but I will come back to
It is an
that.
indictment, because I even when I come back to you guys, to those who spout Amazonia. My question is, who's leading? Who are the leaders?
We will get
What's
back.
this
We will get
confusion?
into that. Just hold on there. Let's focus a little bit on your survey.
I want to
Now,
help. I
your
want to help. I
survey,
want to be of help.
as
Mm-hmm.
you heard me mention earlier, your survey is the only survey which somebody will interpret to mean it is subjective, considering that Cardinal Toomey conducted one, and the results were 80%. Above 80% Ambazonians wanted, as or we call it Anglophones, wanted a separate country of their own. The CD, and I'm sure you also read their report some time ago, I think that was about 2 years ago, conducted another survey, and I don't know how many people your survey interviewed, but Cardinal Toomey and the CDN folks, theirs was actually extensive. I don't know how many people yours surveyed because it is not stated in your report. But when you look at the two, that of Cardinal Toomey and the CDN, giving a score of over 80%, and yours giving a score of 51%. Again, the question becomes that of objectivity. How did you arrive at? Who did you interview? How many people did you interview? Why is the gap so wide between yours and the rest that have been conducted in the past?
Well, Chris, I mean, I know you're smart. You're a very smart guy, and you know that surveys over time, can evolve. Opinions evolve and they get captured or reflected in these opinion polls. I had a long meeting with Cardinal Toomey in before he passed. He and I traveled from Douala to Yaoundé in his car, sitting side by side, going through his report. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I totally agree with you with regard to the numbers. But we carried out a survey both amongst Anglophones in the diaspora, which Cardinal Toomey didn't do a whole lot of, and in the country. So the dichotomy might have resulted from that. That's one possibility. The second possibility is that things have evolved, and I think there's a higher level of discontent and maybe frustration with the secession option.
But that
But
is,
what is interesting is that it is still in the majority. That's what
it is
surprised me.
still the majority, but people will question the majority in your survey, considering the gap from 80 something percent for the past two surveys and yours. And also, people will question the fact that the three of you who are behind this do not believe in a free Ambazonia. At least you cannot put Cardinal Toomey in that class. You may not put the CDN in that class. But for the three of you who own the organization to conduct a survey and come to 51%, people will question the
Absolutely,
reliability. Because especially when you
absolutely.
didn't do yourself justice by telling people exactly how many people you pull, because your 76% of men pull could be 15 people or 100 people. Nobody knows.
Exactly. Right, right. I don't think there's a problem with that. We just decided not to put out all the details, which we will put on our website when eventually we do the final analysis. Um, but let me say this first. Again, as I say, the you must when you look at polling, if you did a poll of what's going on in the United States now, Joe Biden and
Donald
Donald
Trump.
Trump, you'll probably find Joe Biden a year ago would have been far ahead of Donald Trump. Now he's behind Donald Trump for a whole variety of reasons. So when it comes to polling, please, I'm sure you understand, and I hope your audience would, that they capture a moment in time. Then polls do not reflect how people feel over a long stretch. Cardinal Toomey had the poll he did was over 5 years ago, maybe certainly more than 5 years ago. And again, as I said, he worked on the ground in Cameroon for the most part. So that could explain why the results are so different. Secondly, I think that uh, the political environment has evolved a lot since over the last 5 years, and that could explain why we have 50% of the people now belong more to there's almost an even divide amongst the within the population on the choices they'll make with regard to political the management, the administrative management of that part of that geography of what is Cameroon.
I think that lots of Anglophones, in your own word, will find it very difficult to believe that you conducted a survey and only 51% said they want independence, and the other 41 said they want some form of state that lingers between federation and the status quo. But let's get to a different question here. I'd like to get your take on how you think that this conflict should be resolved. There are those who have said to us, hey, you guys just need to end this thing. Just lay down your arms. And we have said it is not incumbent upon us to lay down our arms because we are defending ourselves in this matter. And others have said Cameroon provoked the war, actually declared it on November 30th, 2017, and when, according to your own statement, deployed troops into the Amazonian territory. We are 7 years and counting. I believe a lot that the people on the other side, La République du Cameroun, listen to voices like yours a lot. What would you prescribe for an end to this conflict?
Yeah, I totally agree with the subtext of what you've said, and I think that one, it's incumbent upon us, children of that country, to figure out how we quickly bring this to an end. It's critical. We cannot continue with the current state of affairs, and where I don't know if you saw what happened the other day on the Ring Road. A young Cameroonian who set up a good road construction business and determined, and I talked to Eric Njong, the CEO and of the company Buns that's building that road. He was determined to finally build a ring road, which has been in the works since 1960, the last 50 years. A very necessary piece of infrastructure that should have existed 50 years ago has still not been built. Now, finally, somebody comes into the picture, Mr. Eric Njong, determined to build that ring road, gets his machines going on it, and what happens? They get burnt. The heavy equipment gets destroyed, a fire. So that initiative, which would benefit citizens on the ground, it's not benefiting some numbskull in Yaoundé. It's not benefiting one of the these administrative burglars in Yaoundé. No, that
Eric, see,
project is
the
to
problem
benefit.
there is I see most
Yeah,
of you who uh, uh, that the regime listens to. You
I don't
care
know
so
that.
much
I'm
about
not sure that the regime.
you
Don't say
appear
that,
to
Chris.
care so much about machines, mere
No, no,
machines,
no, 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 no.
to the
Come on, come on.
lives
Don't
of
be.
people who have died in a struggle like this, trying to make the country better. Look at
Why?
Bamenda, the ring road from
Look, don't be
Bafoussam to
manipulative,
Bamenda. It
Chris.
doesn't exist. Last year they brought caterpillars, broke down people's homes in Babenda and said they were widening the street. Today they didn't do it. The caterpillars were not burned. They just walked. And why do you think that ring road is much more important than the freedom of the people who can turn around and reconstruct their roads?
You know, I think we're engaged in some unfortunate and almost pathetic, expression of language here. I'm not sure what problem you find with building a road infrastructure that is critical to
The
development
problem I find in building, let me just quickly answer
and
you
to
before
take
I let
for you
you
to
go
take
on.
that
The problem I
Chris, and
find,
think that I do not care about people on the ground in Bemenda and Kumba and Boya and Limbe. You think I
because we
don't? That's
expect you to
precisely my
condemn the
point.
killing of your brothers just as you condemn the burning of caterpillars that can be replaced. And we don't
And you
hear
think
people like you
I'm not
condemning those
why do you think
killings.
the Cameroon Peace Initiative exists? When we started this interview, Chris, I've been telling you that the reason we created this was to stop those killings, was to end the continued decline that we are seeing in that part of the country and of the world.
So the
Our
question
whole
becomes,
objective
how,
is
in
to.
your opinion, do you end the conflict? What is your prescription?
I am of the feeling, and this is what we're projecting as much as we can in the work we do. We need to be talking to each other. We need to come up with a clear strategy, a program, a roadmap to peace. We cannot continue talking, expressing high ideals without looking at what the concrete outcomes on the ground are. So what we are saying is, one, this whole thing will end up with us sitting around the table. We will have to sit around a table. And to tell you, I want you to know, Chris, that I and others like me who are determined to help bring about peace, we are now discussing dialogue, sitting around a table and talking instead of kidnappings and killings and destruction of equipment, of you name it. This whole crisis will end when you and I and others can sit around the table and find the give and take that will be necessary for us to come to some peaceful settlement.
Who,
We,
according to you, it's so hard to bring to the table? Is it the separatists or the government in place in La Republique du Cameroon?
I mean, I think the government in Cameroon is a disaster. I think so. I think they're a total disaster. I think there are people within that government that seem to want this war. So if you ask me that, I'll tell you, they are as, the leadership of the separatists, let me use that term, or of Ambazonia, if you want, the leadership is as, I want to use an appropriate terminology here, but you are as incompetent as the leadership in Yaoundé. So we're now dealing with two incompetent forces.
So what would
We're
you
dealing
have
with
the
two,
leadership
with
of
two,
the
with two,
separatists
with two,
do differently to
yeah, we're
qualify them
dealing
as
with two
competent?
irrational we're dealing with two irrational forces. And if we can, what we need to do is to have people step back and listen and agree that no crisis on earth has ended without some form of dialogue.
Well, we
Nowhere
all,
has it ended.
Eric, you see, we all agree for dialogue. We have invited La République du Cameroon to
And when
Switzerland.
you,
It went on for
well,
3 years. They walked away. The Canadians came in and invited La République du Cameroon. They had pre-talks for over a month, and at the end of the day, they said they were never there. They never sent anybody there. Why do
I told
you
you,
expect? Why do you expect you call the separatists to be the one essentially trying to be the responsible person here? How do we get to the table with a lot of political Cameroon saying, let's get on the table?
yes, I totally agree with you. And I think the Canadians and the Swiss have a lot to say in this regard. Uh, I told you that there is a level of not only incompetence, but I'd even describe it as as a, uh, extreme case of greed within the government in Cameroon, because there are folks in that government who want this war to continue. So I agree with you. I feel it down, in my own gut
So
that
if you were in our shoes and Cameroon says, you know what, I will kill them until they all surrender, what will you do? Just fold our
they will
hands
never
and
do.
say, let them go
Well,
home?
we just keep telling them this is not a war, this is not a battle that will be won on in a battlefield. This is a political war, and it will be won where politics is won. That is, one, you convince people. Two, you sit and talk to them. So this is not going to be won by. This is not a military war.
So how do you
And we will
convince
continue.
the
We will.
51%? How do you convince or talk to the 51% of Ambazonians who want independence according to your own survey to say, you know what, forget about it. Let's just stay together as one Cameroon. How do you talk to them when Cameroon says, I don't want to talk?
Yes, but now we are in a position. I'm glad you've come to that, Chris. The CPI is now in a position to go to the Americans, and we are talking to them, to go to the French and go to the British and go to others, go to the United Nations and others, and say, we've done an independent survey. They too can react by saying, oh no, you're an Amazonian, or you're a secessionist, or you're a separatist. They can tell me that. But I can show proof that I'm very evenly positioned between all sides, and that we have taken that into account. They can now, I'm hoping, rather than just sit back and say, well, the folks in Yaoundé are not doing anything, let us go to them and say, look, there's proof that the majority, even though it's a slight majority, they want an independent state. And if we're not going to settle for an independent state because the other 50% want something else, then let's sit around the table and talk. Get this government to come and talk. And we can argue that there are people in government who do not want this war to end. And it is not for that reason that we should agree to fold our arms and say, oh, the government in Yaoundé does not want to talk. Because as long as those people in Yaoundé who want this war to continue are there, and as long as a budget can be voted to resolve the crisis in Anglophone Cameroon, and most of that money to buy arms ends up in their pockets, as long as that is the case, we will never find peace. And we are the victims of the absence of peace. We, my people, are the victims of that. So I have now, based on this survey, I have an argument to give. When I talk to the Americans and to the Brits and to the Canadians and the Swiss and others, we are, just so you know, we are actually talking to South Africa now. Again, in the hope of having them come around the table to help us.
Now,
We want this war to end, and it has to end when all of us are willing to take a step back and negotiate and have
we
a
are all
dialogue.
agreed on that. We are all agreed
Yes.
on that. But then Cameroon says, no, I don't need to come to the table to discuss with you. They want to do it their own way. We on our side are saying, okay, Cameroon says we're all one and indivisible. But how about to just be sure, that you are all one and indivisible? How about a United Nations supervised referendum? I'd like to know your take on that, because if you look at your survey, a United Nations supervised referendum will be the easiest way to go, the quickest to go, because it gives everybody a level playing field. Whether an independentist or a federalist or whatever, it gives every Ambazonian. Of course, Cameroon is not counted here because it's not about them. It is about Ambazonia. But it gives Cameroon the opportunity to say, well, I think a referendum will will relate our message to the international community, because the Ambazonian people will reject it, isn't it? Would your organization support a United Nations supervised referendum?
I don't deal in pipe dreams. I deal
This
in
is
the
hypothetical, Eric. We're not
No,
saying
no.
it's
Let
going to
me. Yeah, let
happen.
me finish. Let me.
Will you support it?
I will 100% be for such a referendum if I believe the United Nations would carry it out. That's why I was saying I don't deal in pipe dreams. I remember in May of 1995 when Foncha and Dr. John Gu Foncha and the Honorable Tandeng Mona were at the United Nations. These were, if you could not have a more credible delegation go to the United Nations, and if that body could not act up because
Well,
they
the
did not
stakes were
see.
not critical then as they are today. You know that today we have thousands of people who have been killed. That wasn't the case then. We have over 800,000 children not going to school, according to your survey. We have over 700,000 displaced, according to your survey. The stakes were not same at the time Foncha, Mona, and the rest, they went to the UN. You know that.
Absolutely. So you understand now why,
So what
over time,
I understand you, but the
over
point
time
I'm trying
things
to make here
change, and
is
you can
why
and
a
you can understand
United
now.
Nations supervised referendum becomes very critical, and it becomes very important that organizations like yours support it if you are out for a level playing field that resolve the conflict.
No, I'm grateful that you're finally where we started off by saying that the political realities evolve, and what Cardinal Toomey did back then, and as I say, he and I had a long discussion about that, how things have evolved from there to now, where the outcomes look different. So politically things change. Yes, and I agree. Precisely, we've done this survey so that we can go to all the potential actors and say, this is the point of departure. How do we come together to resolve this? And I can tell you, Chris, there's a lot of work everybody is doing, and my group is working also like you, as you do. You've opted for one approach. My approach is to be scientific about it, to be analytical about it, and to take into account how the world works, how things happen on God's good earth. It is, if the United Nations saw a reason, if America and the British and the French, especially the members of the Security Council, found a reason, they had a reason to intervene in Cameroon, they would have. So what we should be focusing on is trying to give them a reason, to come up with the arguments, to show proof of what we are doing, and that's what we're trying to do.
So according to you, what would be the reasons for them to intervene if the thousands of people killed do not constitute enough reasons? If over 700,000 people displaced don't constitute a reason? If 800,000 children out of school don't constitute a reason? What would be the reason?
I think you get carried away by your emotions, and you should not, as a leader. You don't
No,
need
I'm
to.
quoting you the
That
facts from your own report, Eric.
well,
I'm quoting
there
the
are
facts
yes,
from
yes,
I'm
yes. You're
quoting the
giving me
facts from
facts.
your report.
Yeah, let me.
800,000, according to your report, children are at home not going to school. Over 760,000 internally displaced, according to your report. Then you have over 4,000, which we don't agree to that record, killed, according to your own report. The media, international human rights organizations have reported that the Amazonian conflict is the least covered, among the 5 least covered. So, but you say the United Nations doesn't see reason. What, in your opinion, would cause the United Nations to see reason if these are not enough?
That's why I keep saying, Chris, just take a dispassionate approach to this. There are 26,000 men, women, and children, especially old men and children and women, have died in Gaza. Have you seen the United Nations step in? Have you? Do you want me to give you the numbers in South Sudan?
Where
In
was that
Sudan,
again? Where was that?
in Gaza,
In
the
Gaza?
Palestinians.
Well, come on, Eric.
No,
I mean,
listen.
that
No,
is
no,
being
no, no, no.
disingenuous
Listen.
here. The
No,
United
no.
Nations
Listen,
has
Chris.
held
No, no.
general
Listen.
assemblies to
Listen,
discuss
Chris.
Gaza. They've had Security Council meetings to
Chris.
discuss Gaza. But for the 7
Chris.
years and counting of the Amazonian conflict, they've held not a single meeting.
Well, or you. That's why I said be dispassionate about this.
No, it's not by
You,
being
you
passionate, it's
are.
by going by the record.
No, no. Listen. You're playing with numbers. You're telling me, okay, how can they not discuss? Because 8,000 children are not in school. And I'm telling you, 26,000 people have died, they have not intervened. Do you want me to give you the numbers for Sudan? Sudan. Do you want me to give you the numbers for South Sudan? Do you want me to give you the numbers for Ukraine? Look, there are all of these wars around the world. The UN is very picky as to what it actually
But should
steps up
you
to
not
do.
be
So
concerned,
what I
Eric?
want you to
You
what I want
desperately.
you to understand is we've got to build the case for Cameroon differently. But you're too passionate to even engage in that build up.
But you have not given me the case. How do you build the case if the United Nations for 7 years and counting hasn't seen it? What differently do you bring to the table?
Well, then you must be able to tell yourself there's something we're not doing right.
And what
And
is it
I'm
I'm
telling you,
asking you? Because you are the one who think we are not doing
but
it
that's
right.
the
I would like to
point.
know what you would
That's
do
why
differently.
we're taking it a step at a time. We've carried out a survey. You didn't ask me to carry out a survey. We carried out a survey. It has given us facts that we didn't have. And we've carried out this survey in as scientific a manner as possible. And we can now, with a lot of confidence, go to all of these institutions and say, well, you see, we have a situation in Cameroon that you guys need to look at. There is, there's a critical mass of people who want to leave the nation as it is. There's another half that says they want fundamental change if they are to stay in that system. So now, can you step in between the two and try to do something to pull both sides together? We did not have this kind of independent survey when they met in in Switzerland or when they met in Canada.
No, it
And
was
so the
there.
people,
It was there. It was there,
well,
Eric. Cardinal
no, no,
Chinje
no, no.
survey was there. And the
That survey is
CDN
from many
survey
years
was
ago, Chris.
also there. I mean, it was both in Switzerland and in Canada.
Well, you can't have it both ways. You're agreeing that the circumstances have changed, and now when you and surveys based on those changed circumstances are not as persuasive. And then the people in Yaoundé, whom I told you, there's a divided leadership in Yaoundé. Some who want this crisis to end or this war to end, and others who don't. That is the leadership in Yaoundé. And we have to say that. We have to recognize that. And how do we then provide the arguments in support of those who want the crisis to end? How do we support John Gute and the others who want the crisis to end? That you have to take into account also. And then there are those who don't want it to end. You have to take that into account
Having
also.
the crisis
So
to end is one thing. How you end it is just another.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, sir. But
And so
this
when
is the
you
whole
quote
point.
people like John Ngote and the rest, why are they not in the position to say to their government, we have to get to negotiations, we have to get to the Swiss, we have to get to the Canadians? Why are they not able to persuade their peers to do that?
Well, there are forces within the government. There are opposing forces within the government. Don't tell. I mean, how am I supposed to answer that? What the rest of us who are on the outside have to just, again, take a very structured, scientific approach to finding a solution. In one case, how do we support those who are for peace in government in Cameroon? How do we provide support to those? How do we support those who want an independent republic? How do we get them to prepare a negotiating stand when they come to the table? The people in Yaoundé keep saying those Ambazonians want nothing but Ambazonia. We then have to say, yes, okay, they want nothing but Ambazonia because you people are intransigent as far as this crisis is concerned. So how do you prove to them that yes, you can go with the independence of Ambazonia, or you are willing to sit at table and discuss? We've got to. We're playing on both sides, and we have intransigence. on both sides.
Eric, you make this case very eloquently, but I don't understand why you keep on saying both sides, both sides. We are not in the position to call for negotiations because it is
No,
the
no, I'm not talking about
government that
negotiations.
has to
I'm
do
talking
it.
about I'm not talking about negotiations alone.
Okay?
I've proven to you that we have, that is exactly where we want to go. So we are gathering our arguments. I can tell you that even this morning, I was in contact with South Africa over the possibility of dialogue down the road based on provable facts. And we will make sure in what we are doing, which is a step by step approach, we will be talking to those governments we want to bring into the picture, including at the United Nations, so that they can see what they're not seeing now. They are blaming both sides. They think the killing,
They can't
the,
blame both
the even
sides. They can't blame both sides. We are the side
you're,
that
you're,
want negotiations. We are the side that
you're not
have
reading
been
the
to
reports then.
every negotiated arrangement.
You're not
But the
reading the
government
reports
hasn't
then.
been there. If they hope
You're
that,
not
if they
reading the
think that we
reports.
are just going to lay down our hands and walk away, of course,
You're right.
that is not going to happen. They have to.
You're right.
It is incumbent upon them to be willing to sit down and talk and not
Yes.
talk
Do you
about peace.
understand?
And not talk
Do you
about
understand what
peace,
I'm
Eric.
saying?
We're not interested about peace. We're interested in justice. Only justice will bring the peace that they talk about. But let me get to
Okay.
Comrade. Let me get to Barrister Martin Thomas Sangere. Barrister, you've listened to Eric, and I'm sure you read the survey from CP, and I'd like to get your take on it, considering the other surveys which were made by Cardinal Toomey and the CDN. Your take, sir.
Comrade Chris, and good evening to Mr. Eric Chinje. They have a saying that when you see Greeks come bearing gifts, you have to be careful with whatever they are coming with. So before I even talk about the survey, I have to put the whole issue in context in terms of who is carrying out the survey, who is Mr. Eric Chinje. Mr. Eric Chinje is on record in an interview in America where he lambasted Ambazonia, said it's rubbish, used pejorative and derogatory language about Ambazonia, actually batting for La République du Cameroon. That one is on record. We should start from there. This is the guy carrying the survey. His antecedents is known on the issue of Ambazonia. Secondly, at the height of this struggle, I don't know whether Biya was in the Intercontinental Hotel or wherever, where they were trying to calm down this thing. The same Eric Chinje wrote a draft speech for Biya to read to try and maybe hoodwink so-called Ambazonians or Anglophones to stop the agitation. It never addressed any of the root causes of this problem. It was just to deceive us. So, secondly, I would conclude again that he is an entity batting for La République du Cameroon. So, if he brings a study, I scrutinize it. If it is an outlier, if it is very far from other similar studies, I will just put it in the bin. Third, Mr. Eric Chinje has had his opportunity with various platforms. For example, Mo Foundation and so many. He was there. He never used those platforms to try and push the issue of this struggle so that they can, if the international community can come and help us. All this belated effort is a waste of time. He had his opportunity with all these platforms. He did absolutely nothing. I didn't know. Even when Mo Ibrahim was interviewed for here in Paris, you could see this man knows very little about the struggle. He was just talking on generalities. Fourthly, Mr. Eric Chinje is a guy who is trying to monetize this struggle for his benefit. I will give you an example. At the height of this struggle, they were killing us in our thousands. Eric Chinje will not condemn the killings in public. He rushed to Yaoundé and registered a consultancy. He registered a consultancy to cash in on this struggle. They were talking of peace. They were talking of talks that time. I don't know whether he wanted to be appointed as a mediator or he wanted to get a contract, but he rushed to Yaoundé, set up a consultancy, not an NGO. What I read was that it was a consultancy where he was trying to catch in the struggle. I'll put it again in context. You should understand the broad dynamics of what is going on. We have Capo Daniel, who is a hireling of the system. He's going around preaching that, oh, independence is no more viable. We should accept what La Republique is giving us, so that we should try and solve the problem,
It
because
finishes,
independence is no more viable.
so
And
we
then
may be delayed to
then
30
in
minutes.
the on the other hand, we have Eric Chinje, who arrives with a study that the thing has fallen from 80% to 50-50. So you could see Capo Daniel is preaching that is no more viable. Eric Chinje arrives with his study. Oh, things have fallen from 50 to from 80 to 50. When he's asked why would such a change happen in so fast within a period, he is saying that, oh, it's because people are frustrated, people are tired. I'm saying in Bougainville, it went for so long. When they finally did a referendum, they had 99%. In South Sudan, which they were there for 20 or 20 something years, when they finally did a referendum, it was 90 something percent, almost 98 or 99. If you go in East Timor, after all the suffering and crimes which were committed, the thing was 90 something percent. So for him to surface from nowhere with his 51%, to be honest, you are not understanding Eric Chinje's language. When a guy comes and tells you that 51% is majority, 51% is majority within what? What is the stochastic coefficient? What is the confidence interval of this study? If it's a 5% confidence interval, he's basically saying that a majority could even be people who don't want independence. It's just that he's being polite to us by not publishing things. This thing is preordained, it's not a study. So these have put the general context. Let me go into his study now. He says
Can
that
I say something
All
now?
right,
I mean,
Comrade
you
Martin,
can't be
you've
Chris.
talked a lot there. Let Eric have an opportunity to rebut some
okay,
of
then
the.
before I go into the actual study, I've given the background.
Yes, let
Chris.
Eric come in and do some
Mm,
rebuttal there, if any.
yes. Thank you, Chris. You know, I don't I believe that if we have such a serious state of affairs in our geography, God put us in that place for a reason, and it's for each of us to find out what their reason is, what their purpose is. It's for each of us. So I'm not going to impute on any one of you uh, a purpose that does not is not theirs. I am a child of God doing what I believe is my purpose. Let me say this. First of all, he talks about a speech for beer that I wrote. I've never in my life even come close to writing one sentence for Mr. Beer to pronounce. Never done that. So, again, just the untruth in that statement is enough to dismiss it. He says, when I worked with the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, I didn't do anything for Ambazonia. I worked in the Mo Ibrahim Foundation in 2012. There was not even the beginnings of a crisis of this nature in Cameroon. You talked about me
But
monetizing. Thank
Eric,
you. No,
talking
no, let me
about the Mo
finish.
Ibrahim, when you
Let me
talk
finish.
about the
Let me just
crisis,
finish.
Eric, when you
Yes, let
talk
me finish.
about a second,
Let me
when you
just,
talk about nothing of the sort in Cameroon, then when you work for the Mo Ibrahim
Mo
Foundation,
Ibrahim.
the Mo Ibrahim Foundation fights for good governance and democracy in Cameroon. You know that country has never had one. So don't you think it was an
No,
opportunity working for that organization
we're not
to
talking about good or bad governance. We're talking about the Ambazonian crisis. Ambazonian crisis did not exist on us at the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. So to
no,
even
I
accuse
understand you,
me,
but even before the Ambazonian crisis, there was bad governance in Cameroon.
of course, across Africa there's bad governance. What are we talking about?
So I
So
think then the
don't.
question will be, what did you do?
What did I do about bad governance in Africa? I've spent my
Yes,
entire life.
working for a
I've spent my
foundation that
entire
preach
life.
good governance.
Yes, I've spent my entire life working to hopefully contribute to good governance in any part of Africa, not only in Cameroon. So don't blame me for the absence of good governance. And certainly, the most disgusting of everything I've heard from my friend who spoke is about me monetizing this crisis. This is so disgusting, so shameful for him to even take that up. I've spent my own resources on this issue of trying to contribute to peace in Cameroon. I've never asked for a dime from anybody, not from the government, not from even the organizations that want to help. As a matter of fact, when we've tried to partner with organizations to do some work in Cameroon, like we did recently with the ICO, I put my own resources into that basket. So please, please, don't give me this bile that you're trying to give. Let us work with facts. Let's work with facts. Let us try and find the best way to bring peace to our country so that our brothers and sisters can benefit from the work we do. And there's a God who knows. If
All
what I'm
right.
saying is untrue, then please I stand to be corrected and be punished for it if I have to. But please don't give me the kind of crap that the former speaker gave,
Barrister
accusing me of
Martin.
monetizing, accusing me of
Yeah,
not
sorry.
doing any.
I'm waiting for him to finish talking. I don't want to be
Yes,
interjecting
I
when
think you
somebody's talking.
wanted to delve into the stats of his survey. Go on, please.
Yeah, okay. Let me anyway. Let me just go into the start. I don't know how much time we took. He says they carried out a study which they talked to some people in towns and in villages. All these stronghold where the Amazonians are there, did they go there? They said no, they didn't go, they did it online. More than 80 or 90% of our people are in the villages. These people are not even online. How would you carry such a study for you include the people in the villages where you don't physically go there and talk to them, you do it online? I can go to some villages and you would get how many people online. There is no way this study, the sample could be representative, could be probabilistic. It is a non-starter. That's one of the things. Secondly, if Chris, if I'm in Cameroon, let's say I wanted independence, me personally, and you bring a study, a survey for me talking about these anglophone things and anglophones and this, that, I will not even respond to such a thing. So there is what we call, many people are turned off by the way they even drafted the thing. There is what we call in research non-response bias. Did he accommodate for non-response bias because of the lopsided and this type of questionnaire drafting they did? He has not mentioned that the non-response bias in the thing. Secondly, he says that his study is 51%. 51%, your sample, I don't believe your sample is right. Secondly, I believe there is no response bias there. Thirdly, I believe that your sample, the way you are talking, why should you go on a country? I believe our population is like 51, is 50-50 in, if women are not even more. Why would you go and make a sample with men being 70 something percent? The sample is already so biased, it doesn't reflect the target, the population. So the results are wrong, even from the just from the sample they choose. And then he says that things have changed within a period. I don't think things have changed. I've told you that people have fought for 20 years. People thought they are tired and things have changed. When they brought a referendum, you always get 90 something percent. In English, they say the ashes of annexation and colonization never get cold. Even if people sit and not doing nothing, if you put them privately in that box, they will still choose that independence because it's already in their blood. Then 80 something percent never changes easily as he thinks. If he thinks something so fundamental, it change just because some people carry guns and were shooting. I don't think that is not a scientific way of reasoning things. No, 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 no. These things, the
Mhm.
ashes of action could never get cold. The things are there. Even if you give these people ample opportunity, get the right sample, get the right questions, you will still get that 80% or 90, which we always get. And then the next thing which I would say is, as I've said it, that look, you can use some of us who value, apart from being a barrister of the Supreme Court of England and Wales, I'm a chartered surveyor. So I value property. When I go to value property, the easiest way to value property we call comparable evidence. You look at other places where similar conflicts are, you see the kind of percentages which are coming out of there when they do a proper, independent, maybe UN supervised referendum, and you can try to project to see our own is nothing so special about our own. Mr. Eric Chinje fundamentally misses the problem. We are not looking for peace. He is the one looking. If I want peace today, I lay down my arms, there's peace. You can get peace in an hour. If we decide to surrender today, Chris, will there not be peace? The issue is
Absolutely.
not peace. We are not looking for peace. We have a situation where we have a situation of sovereignty. where our sovereignty was put in abeyance. They are trying to steal it. Where we came together with somebody in good faith to try and form some form of union, the guy instead tried to dissolve us and attach us and recreate his country, but with a bigger boundary now, with a bigger surface area. Before they started it in 1972, the thing seceded from the union. They fully consummated it using a restoration law 84-1, which they did. So we too now they're in sorry, in law, there is something they call exceptio non damnability contractus, which simply means that for such a union, the union between the two Cameroon is what they call in law a synalagmatic agreement. In a synalagmatic agreement, each party is bringing something on the table for them to form the agreement. But if one party decides to stop delivering, so using that principle of exceptio inadimpleti contractus, the other party is entitled to withdraw. That's what Gorky said. You've recreated your country. So our country, either due the operation of law automatically created, even if not automatically operated, we reserve the right to create it, which Justice Frederick and the rest went to Radio Boya and announced the recreation of our country. So the issue is there. Why are we looking for
Okay.
peace? Peace is not our
Okay.
problem.
Let me respond.
So
Let
can
me
I?
respond to that.
Yes. Can I? Yes. Thank you so much, Chris. I totally, I'm at peace with myself and with the work we've done for the simple reason that the premise on which we carried out the work clearly is wrong from the perspective of my friend who's speaking. We are working for peace. So clearly, if peace is not what we want, then we don't have any. There's no common ground on which to act.
But
So
Eric, do you understand the
rather,
context of peace?
I do understand.
Give us your context of peace. We all want peace, but we think there is a step you take before you get peace. What is your context of peace? Is it peace
Chris,
as in the status quo, or what is your
Chris,
peace?
I'm responding to what I just heard.
Yeah, go on.
Amongst the things, I was taking notes. Amongst the things I heard was, we're not looking for peace. So clearly, the basis on which we did our work does not just begin to respond to what my friend on the other side wants. So I get that, and I empathize. So let me, that's one. The secondly, he said of the poor sampling. Again, this, I don't know if we stated in the statement that was put out that this is the beginning. We understand clearly that this was the beginning of a long march. There's a lot of work to be done. And our hope is, with all its limitations, this survey, with a lot of limitations, which I totally agree exist, it is the beginning of a process for us. And if we're going to end the process before we've begun because of its limitations, and I totally agree that there are some very serious limitations in this. If we're going to end the process before we've started, then maybe that's what we should be talking about. Please don't go on with this. He mentioned the fact that we're talking about the sampling. We didn't go into the villages. People who don't have internet connections and so on were not consulted. And again, these are amongst the very important limitations that this survey had. So we are working with what we have. That's the most beautiful woman in the world can only give of what she has. That is said. That is understood. So I don't know how else we could have done it. I don't know on what basis I'll even be engaging in this discussion with you.
The question
if we had done it differently.
Sorry,
Let me
please,
land.
The question
let
again
me
is,
finish.
what
Let me
is
finish.
your context of peace?
I'm not sure I understand the question. If you want to know what I mean by peace, all I'm saying is something I want to be able to go to. I have my building in in Santam. I have a business that is supposed to be running in that part of the world, and I cannot. I have a farm. It's been abandoned for 6 years now. I have some microfinance business. It's not been working. I have a house that has been converted into a church, I'm told, because I cannot even go there anymore. So, peace for me is my ability to engage in, no, listen, Chris, peace for me is my ability to engage in those things. For a whole variety of
You're
reasons,
talking
I
about
cannot.
another
So
word for
what
which
I'm
should be
trying to do,
normalcy, I guess, right?
yes, normalcy. And if you ask me what normalcy is again, simple. My ability to engage in those things, my ability to go to my house, my ability to run the business that I was supposed to be running, my ability to go to my farm. And until I can do that, there's no peace. So part of what I'm doing is to
So
exactly to
essentially, if I
establish
get you
the
right,
condition.
then what you are trying to say is it doesn't matter how you get to your house, you just want the peace, even if you have to walk over 10 corpses to get into your house. You just
No,
want
no.
the
Again, you
ability
see,
to
this is
get
why
to your house.
this discussion is difficult. You've asked me what peace means. I've tried. It's not about me. I'm here in the United States. I'm very
It
comfortable.
is
No,
not
no.
hard.
Listen, Chris. Let me finish. Let me
Okay.
just finish, Chris. I mean, you don't. You've asked me what peace means. Initially, you say you don't want peace. So I said, okay, if you don't want peace, then there's no point for us talking. Then you tell me, no, 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 there's peace. But what does peace mean? I have to define peace in as practical a manner as I can. And for me, as I say, it's because I want to be able to do those things. What I want for me is what I want for every citizen in that country. And if they cannot do it, then there's an absence of peace. So how do we get ourselves back to a place of normalcy, to use your word, and I'll not use peace? How do we get back to a place of normalcy where these things can be done, where people can engage in the purposes of their lives? That's what we're talking about. And
But don't you
again, as I
also
say,
understand, Eric, that the people will say they don't just want peace for peace sake. They want justice before peace. Don't you think they have a good reason? Because what difference would it
absolutely,
make if you go back
we've not spoken
to
about
the status quo where things just go on as they used to be before?
yes, yes, bring in justice, and
How
I'll
do you
tell you,
hope to get
yes,
peace without righting the wrongs?
absolutely, we've got to right the wrongs. But we have to agree that we want peace. If we don't want peace, then we cannot right the wrongs. And if peace is the end goal, then we have to see what's the roadmap to peace.
Because, and that is why
And
I keep going back to your context of peace, because your context of peace is in what La République du Cameroon wants. Our context
I
of
have never
peace
said
is
that.
in what we, the
Don't
people,
don't
we
put
want.
don't put words in my mouth.
Comrade Chris, I think we should not waste the
I've said
whole evening on the definition of peace. We are spending too much
I've
time.
said that
We have
I
our justice we are looking for. We want the errors of the past to be corrected. We want our stolen sovereignty to be given to us. If they give us that and peace comes with it, is the benefit of what we are looking for. That's what we
as
are
a
looking. We are
lawyer,
not going out looking for peace.
as a
Nobody has
lawyer,
picked a gun
as a
because
lawyer,
he's looking for peace. I've never
if
seen
this guy
any
is
of
a
the
lawyer,
people who died. Sorry?
if he's a lawyer, I feel totally disappointed in what you're saying. Sovereignty, there are conditions
Eric,
to
please,
obtain.
you don't have to
Listen,
be
no, no,
abusive, please. I'm a
that's
lawyer
what you've
of the
been
Supreme
doing.
Court of England and Wales. I'm a
That's
lawyer
all.
of the Cameroon Bar. I have four
That's all
master's
you've been
degrees in
saying.
law, Eric Chinje, with a PhD. I'm alumnus of 5 universities, of 6 universities, 5 of them in the UK. I don't have
It's so
one master's
disappointing.
degree in law. I have 4. I've graduated.
Yes,
I'm a graduate from BPP, which is the most expensive
that's what.
and the top school in the UK. In Lisbon, you want to challenge me
That's
in law?
that's
I'm a
what's even
member
this.
of the inner temple with inner temple
That's
of
what's.
law in the
You see,
UK.
that's what's so
So you
disappointing
cannot even
about
try.
you.
Don't go towards the law side, please.
No,
I've
no, no, no,
published
no.
books on this matter. Principles and
You
practice
are.
of international law.
Uh,
800 page is my
Comrade Thomas,
publication.
let Eric speak, please.
Principles
Let
and
Eric
Practice
speak.
of
Eric is
Civil
trying to
Law
speak.
is my publication. What are you talking? My books are over. You want to talk law? Let's keep law. This issue is not about law. If
Let
you talk
Eric
law,
make the point you was
please,
trying to make,
let's talk what
Comrade
we are
Thomas.
talking.
Let Eric make the point, please. Eric, go on, please.
Let him not go after me in terms of law, please.
I am.
Make
This
your
is the
point
disappointment we
on the
have
struggle, not on
as
law, please.
with the disappointment. Look, we now I've totally forgotten what point it is I was trying to make. But again, I'm not questioning your academic credentials. I am just questioning you based on the emotional vibes that you're releasing during this interview, this exchange, that does not move us forward. I've just taken the things you've said. We do not want peace, so there's no point that we're having this discussion. Period.
Eric, please, you're trying to
Eric,
misquote me and paraphrase me. I says our aim, we are not looking for peace. Peace will be a consequence of what we are looking for. We don't pick guns fighting because we are looking for peace. No, we are looking for our stolen sovereignty. If they give us that sovereignty, then no, we don't fight. Peace will be a consequence. We are not going around
Yes,
looking for peace. That's
and
not
I
what we
get
are
your
looking
point.
for, Eric. It's a consequence of
Yes,
what we are looking for. Maybe
and I
it's the
get
way
your
I
point.
put it, you get me.
Yes, and I get your point, and I thank you, and I apologize. The point, we should not be engaged. We should not be fighting each other again. Certainly those of us who have the intellectual capacity to help resolve these things. The point I was going to make was when Chris came up with the idea of sovereignty, and I was going to tell you that there is there's an internationally accepted approach to obtaining sovereignty. Why don't we outline those things that we need? Because you'll obtain sovereignty after the UN grants you sovereignty. After the African Union and the United Nations and some of these international organizations, there's an approach to obtaining sovereignty.
but
We've
Eric,
not
you
even
understand.
started.
I get
No,
your
listen.
point there, but you got to understand
So we've
that.
not even started.
But
We've
you
not even
also, but
started on
Eric,
the road.
Eric,
We've
but
not started on
you
the
have to
road to
understand that
obtaining sovereignty, and people are dying.
Eritrea fought for 30 years before they got independence. South Sudan fought for over 20 years before they got independence. So when you talk about an approach, it is not like it is lying there, just go pick it. It doesn't happen
Should
that
we
way.
do
They
exactly?
want you to fight, which is why after John Goodfuncher, S.T. Mona, the rest going to the United Nations, a few years after, the United Nations does nothing, and Abazonia says, okay, if we have to sacrifice with our lives, we have to do it. If that would take the United Nations to do exactly what you are prescribing.
There is
To support what you said, Comrade Chris,
I get your
he
point, but
mentioned.
let us educate our people. Let us let us learn from what has happened in other places.
We are learning from
we can take
Eritrea. We are learning from Sudan.
yes
We are
we
learning.
can take a look at what. Let's take Sudan that you talk about. Do you know John Garang, the father of South Sudanese independence? Do you know John Garang fought against the secession from all of Sudan? John Garang he was in line to become president of Sudan, and did not want the secession. So, after all those years of war, and I got this and you can quote me on this, I'm saying it on live television. I got this from Salva Kiir, president of South Sudan himself. We can look at Liberia, we can look at South Sudan, we can look at Eritrea, we can look at East Timor. There are examples. We can look at Biafra, and actually I saw this documentary on the Biafran War. We can take all of that, look at them. That's part of the process of resolving this crisis. Understanding what others did badly and what others did rightly. One of them is, and I like the word that was offered by the barrister, sovereignty. If we want sovereignty, and sovereignty can be expressed in many forms. It can be autonomy, full autonomy, it can be independence, it can be, it can be a whole range of administrative factors that get built into the solution. Now, but the first step is to understand if sovereignty is the ultimate goal, how do you get to sovereignty? There are steps that have to be taken. Have we taken those steps? And if we haven't, what can we do to
What
take
are
the
those steps
appropriate steps?
according to you? What are those steps?
Can I address
Not
that
according
issue,
to me.
please?
Let me
before we
answer the
further?
questions because
Not
he's
according
making
to
a
me.
point that
According
he's
to
not.
the international
Give
system,
us some of those steps, Eric. Give us some of those steps.
the ultimate. Yes, the ultimate step is the UN saying we have, they're recognizing that sovereign state. That's the ultimate state. That's the ultimate step.
So
So
the UN.
what do we do now to obtain UN recognition? That should be the next question you should ask me. What do we do to obtain UN recognition? That's what you should ask.
Would you
And then,
join us? Would your organization join us in demanding for? I mean, if you really want a peace, would you join us? Your organization, I mean, join us in saying, okay, Cameroon refuses to go to any dialogue, any negotiations, and they cannot kill people with impunity. We want a
yes,
United Nations supervised referendum for the people themselves to decide where they want to be. Would your
I don't know if
organization
that is
join
the
us?
first thing you do. I don't know whether that would be the first thing I will do. That will not be the first thing I will do.
What would you
That's
do
probably the
first?
first thing. Well, I'm just saying, I'm just one single individual, and I've decided that the first thing I'll do is carry out a survey which gives me the arguments to take to these organizations. That is it coming from me.
Look, when you
That
have
is
done
my
that
first step.
already, and you add that to that of TUMI and CDN, they are all on the same. I
Exactly.
mean, they
So
all
we're,
have the
we're,
same result.
we're just
Ambazonians
beginning.
won independence. So with those, with the data you have at hand, is it not enough for you to go to the UN and say, hey, we are not the only ones speaking? Look at previous organizations have conducted this. We have done it. We have the same result. The majority won independence. Would you give them, would you supervise a referendum for and allow them to vote to decide where to be?
We have begun that process in the way we know how. I don't know. There must be others. Those who've decided that it will be through war, they're doing it both in government and outside of government. But we, as simple citizens, we've decided that we're going to do this. We've seen the results. We are now taking our results out to those we believe can help us in the process. That's all we're doing. That's all I can do at my level. That's all we can do at the level of the organization I'm a leader of. And that's exactly what we are doing. And as I told you, we are taking our results out to organizations and nations and trying to make the case for helping Cameroon, helping us find a solution to the crisis, to the war, the civil war in Cameroon. And I can even tell you that many people are surprised when I use the word civil war. They find it hard. They say there's a civil war in Cameroon. So, part of what we're doing is educating the global audience. And that's part of what we're doing. And we're
Well,
doing it with proof.
I will give Martin 1 minute to respond, and then I will open the phone line, take a few phone calls from probably ground zero back
How much
home.
time do we have, Chris? I'll probably have to leave in 10 minutes or so.
That is fine. That is fine. Eric,
Okay.
Martin, I give you 1 minute, make your point.
I'll just address two
hold
issues.
on to Eric's point. We
Mr.
don't
Eric
consider
keeps
this a civil war.
Mr. Eric keeps talking about Mr. Eric keeps talking about recognition, lack of recognition. I would like to state that according to the 1933 Montevideo Conference on Statehood, the recognition is not one of the requirements for statehood. There are 4 requirements of statehood. Recognition of the state by other state entities is not one of the requirements. He can go and check it out. I repeat the word
No, I don't have to. I
Montevideo
mean, you say it.
Conference.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
is
don't have
one
to
of
check
them.
it.
The second issue I want to address is the issue he said that sovereignty or self-determination, whatever, can be in various forms. We agree that first, for you to ask for self-determination, you must be a people. In Communication 266/2003 in Banjul, La République du Cameroon came with their lawyers and submitted that we are not a people. We are the same like the Bamileke, Northwest is the same like Bamileke, Southwest is the same like Sawa people and the rest. But the court categorically rejected and said that Southern Cameroonians are a people different from La République du Cameroon. The UN has always referred to us as the people of Southern Cameroon. So we are a people in international law. When you are a people in international law, you have an inalienable right to self-determination. This self-determination can be in various forms, as he said. For example, the Pygmies can be a people, but they want now to have independence to self-determine. They would argue that no, your self-determination can be autonomy within Cameroon and the rest. Before a part of a country can go for self-determination, which is independence, there is something they call the Katanga principle and the Katanga threshold. It came out from a case where Katango wanted to break up from Congo. And they said that no, you are part of Congo, you don't have the right to break up unless the human rights violation there is above a certain threshold that it will be unconscionable to say the two of you should live together. But in that case, they realized that the Katanga threshold was not met. But in the case of Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon, we are not fettered by the Katanga threshold because our request for independence is not internal. We are an external entity that came to join La République, and it didn't work like Senegambia and other people, and each person is going. We don't have to satisfy the Katanga threshold. So we don't have that option of internal. No, our request for independence is an external one. It's not fettered by Katanga principle where they can give us different options. If we want to go independent, just like Quebec wants to become independent, just like Scotland, they have that unfettered right. And self-determination is a continuous exercise of power. We can keep doing a referendum or whatever 100 times, 1,000 times. That's why they've given more than one referenda in Quebec. That's why Scotland is talking of the second referendum. The right for that independence or that self-determination is inalienable. So the issue of different kind of self-determination, which is guided by Katanga, does not apply to Southern Cameroon. Sorry about going into details for this,
All
but I
right.
just needed to
Yeah,
clarify
I mean,
these two points.
the word of the words you're using didn't come from me. They came from Chris, as a matter of fact.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I might have taken
Martin,
more than 1 minute.
yeah, Martin, please hold on there. Let's make sure that our audience can call. You have the line there on your screen. Please make sure before you call, turn down the volume of your set and focus on your phone. Okay, let's get to the first caller here. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Please turn down the volume of your set and focus on the phone.
All right. Yes, my volume is down now.
All right, go on. So where are you calling from, please?
Calling from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. All right. What is on your mind, sir?
Yes, to Comrade Eric. I like to call him Comrade. I like to call him
Eric is
Comrade
not
Eric.
Amazonian. You can't call him comrade.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's fine.
I know he is an Ambazonian deep down in his heart, though he may not have the courage to say it here. But
All right.
let me ask my questions. We all know that peace is a precursor, or justice is a precursor to peace in every situation, because whenever there is violence, it is as a result of either an aggressor wanting to take from an oppressed people something that does not belong to them, or the oppressed people choosing violence as the only option they have to take from the aggressor what they believe is theirs. Given this case between the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon, where there exists now this violence, there is certainly a case of injustice. How does Mr. Eric think that this justice should be achieved so that the peace that he very much wants can therefore be achieved? I have 2 more questions to go, if you permit
Please
me.
make it really, really short. We want to take as many callers as possible, and Eric doesn't have time.
Absolutely. Given the inability of La République du Cameroon to respect previous agreements, given their track record of failed promises, given the caliber of persons that are in charge of that country that have demonstrated in every way possible that they are not sincere and honest to do what is right, why does he think that Ambazonians should continue to hope for something better? Does he see any light at the end of the tunnel for Ambazonia if we should continue to be hinged to the west with a country that has demonstrated in every way that they hate us? The last question is this. Given the fact that he has come out with his own survey or poll, and candidate Toomey came up with his, and he showed a different result, I think there was one other. Given this, the variance between the results that have been achieved from these various surveys, doesn't he think that it is now right for the people of the Southern Cameroons to therefore be given the chance to speak for themselves through a referendum, so that these various variations in the results of these surveys can now be combined by the Amazonian people and speak for themselves instead of waiting for individual surveys whose authenticity and even the authority may not have any bearing on how this conflict is resolved.
All right. Thank you. Let Eric take the question, please. Thank you. Eric, please.
Yeah,
50 seconds
yeah.
to
Thank
round
you,
up
Chris.
because we don't
Very
have a lot of
quickly.
time and I want to take a few more
Yes,
questions before you go.
yes. He talks about my courage to accept myself as an Ambazonian. No, it doesn't take for courage at all, and I've said it over and over that I will never go back to a Cameroon where I do not have 100% of my rights guaranteed and equal to everybody else from the president to the man on the streets. I've said that in many interviews, that you could find on YouTube. How to achieve peace? Again, I am an individual, and as an individual, I've sat back and thought about it and what would be the best way I can leverage what I have and what I know to help in the process. That is what brought me and others to the survey. Let us start from somewhere where we can where we can provide information to the global community based on which we are doing it. I cannot go there as an individual and tell Joe Biden, please, do something for Cameroon. But I can go to Joe Biden's people and say, this is what we have found. Can you people, can you also leverage whatever you have based on some of this? Can you also even do your own survey if you want? They have the means to do that. With regard to the insincerity, is the term you used, the incompetence of the people in Yaoundé. And again, I've said it in this interview, I've said it on other platforms, that there's a lot of insincerity, incompetence, all the terms you used in Yaoundé, precisely because the government is divided. There are those who do not want the war to end. There are those who wake up and go to bed with the hope that they can find a solution to this. So part of what I do is to figure out how I can provide the arguments to those in the government in favor of resolving this problem. What kinds of arguments can I provide to them? And I think our survey, which is independent, they cannot accuse me for being an Amazonian. They've tried, but it's clearly stating that there's a critical mass in that country that want independence. It is there.
So, Eric,
It
if I
doesn't
may
matter what
ask, Eric,
it doesn't matter what the percentage is,
Eric, if I,
but the fact is that. And
Eric, if I
then
may
with
ask,
regard to yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
were to meet, let's say, Paul Biya tomorrow or John Gute tomorrow, would you say to them, listen, guys, we conducted this survey and the majority of Ambazonians, they want their own country, please let them go. Would you say that? Would you suggest that?
As Eric Chinje, as myself,
Yeah.
I'll probably not say that. But I'll
Why
probably
not?
say this. No, listen. I'll probably say this is what the results show. Let's go out there and engage them in a discussion. That's what I will do. But the results are very clear. Whether it's Cardinal Tumi Soma or the ones the CPI did, it is clear that there's within that community, the majority want independence. So yes, how do we in the current context figure out how to guarantee to them the rights and privileges that a sovereign nation will give them? I'll move along those lines. This is what we've done here is put pressure on systems, international and national systems, to listen to citizens. That is what we're trying to do here.
All
And with
right,
regard
please
to the
hold it there.
referendum,
I know you couldn't answer all
yeah,
the
final
questions. Let me
statement
take.
is that referendum. I think, and I totally agree that at some point in the process, and we should get there should
Yeah,
be a referendum.
great. All right, hold on there. Let's get to this caller. Hello.
Yes, good evening. Good evening. I have two questions. One is for you,
Where are you
Comrade
calling from,
Chris,
sir?
and I'm calling from Germany. My name is Collins.
All right, go
And
on.
I've got two questions. After 8 years of war, I think we must have reached the level where we have understood that our Amazonian struggle has passed the stage where we bring people to come and debate whether we are actually doing the right thing about self-defense or not. We are at the level that
we should be valuing people according to their deeds. Okay, that said, the first question is for you, and the second is for the most respected journalist, Eric Chinje. I watched him when I was growing up, and I really loved him so much. But I think I will ask him a question too, a very soft one. Chris, you bring people like Eric Chinje to come and debate whether Amazonia is doing right or wrong just for entertainment purposes, or you think that maybe he really has something in his mind that he will put on the table that will advance our struggle?
Okay, all right, hold on there. Were you here at the beginning of the show?
And the second one, is for my icon. I'll call Eric Chinje my icon. I don't know, after 8 years of war, have you been to Nigeria to give food, water, medicine to our refugees, 50,000 of them who are there? Have you done anything for the internally displaced people that we actually know that you even care about the Amazonian people, or it's only about coming to lecture us federalism, unionism, peace in Cameroon, civil war in the Cameroon, and Amazonia is not really a thing? Do you really care about the people? Have you really been taking care of some refugees somewhere that, like I saw Comrade Chris went to Nigeria, I was really scared that he would be picked up there at one point to give food. Have you really done something for our refugees? So that we know that you are one of us, and you are actually working for us, and you really can go down the mine to do everything to take care of our people.
All right. All right, hold on there. Don't drop yet. Just hold there, please. Just hold there. Yes, hold on there. Were you here at the beginning of the broadcast?
No, I was not.
All right, now I understand why you asked the question you asked about me bringing Eric here. I indicated that Eric belongs to an organization called CPI, Cameroon Peace Initiative, and they recently published a survey they conducted that indicates that 51% of Anglophones, in their own wording, want independence, and the other 41 want some kind of form of state ranging between federation to the status quo. And I had to bring him on to explain why his survey is so different from others like that of Cardinal Toomey and the CDN. But it is also very important.
People call us Anglophones. I hope that is not referring to us Amazonians, because we don't accept colonial names.
Of course, yeah. Of course, I get that. But the point I'm trying also to make is that, listen, we cannot avoid certain discussion, certain discussion, because if we walk away from it today, we will have to discuss it tomorrow. They are not our enemies. We differ in the way we want this thing to end, but we don't want to see them as enemies. We want to see them as people with an opinion. And when need be, we come together and discuss that opinion. That is why I have Eric here. That is why I will have Monzu here, if need be.
Calling us Cameroonian, the Cameroon Peace Initiative. We are Amazonians. How does the Cameroonian Peace Initiative, Cameroonian thing, concern us, Ambazonia? You are the president of Ambazonia. How many Ambazonians
Comrade, when you go to... No, listen. Listen. Can you listen? All right. When you call, you have to listen. The guy who is calling, when you call Cameroon citizens La Republicans, do you think they'll be asking you why you're not referring to yourself as a Cameroonian? Of course not. So we allow people to make their choices. They have the liberty to do that. All right? Eric, if you have anything to say, briefly, please.
Yes, thank you, Chris. And Collins, thanks for your questions. Let me very simply say that, yes, at my level, and it's a very small level, I wake up every day thinking of what I could do differently, what I can do at my level to contribute to normalcy, again, to use a term that I like, which Chris used, to contribute to normalcy in our part of the world. You call it Cameroon, call it Amazonia, whatever you wish. I just want us to return to that normalcy. And as individuals, there's only so much any of us can do as individuals. So as an individual, I can tell you, yes, I have made my contributions. If you talk to You may know Rose Mbiakno in Yaoundé. Rose will tell you what we try to do to help IDPs, to help others. If you know Felix and Bibixi, who are in Kondengi jailed, even as late as 2 weeks ago, I was sending 200,000 CFA francs to them to help in what they're doing. If you know a guy called Paul Defoe, who's in Bamenda, give him a call. So at my small level, I can give you concrete action I've taken to help. So don't, please, just, each of us, if you are doing something at your level to help this cause, even helping Ambazonia in a credible, practical, meaningful way, may God bless you and give you more grease to your elbows. At my level, I keep doing every day what I can to help individuals, to help the cause, and to help find peace.
All right. Thank you. I know you are about rushing to get out of here. Let me get one more caller here. I think this is from Germany. Hello.
Hello, Comrade. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. What is
Yeah,
on your mind?
I'm calling from Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland. Okay.
Yes, I want to say that you must have noticed in Cameroon that the Cameroonian government through Atanganje, whenever there's an NGO in Cameroon that is going to be speaking the truth, seeking for justice, Atanganje and the government of Cameroon, they don't want to see the NGO. We've seen what they've done with Medicine Sans Frontier. They don't want to see such an NGO. And when you see an NGO that begins to say peace, 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 because the main thing should be an NGO. I mean, if we know what this NGO are, because if you want funding, if you want that is fund you, you must be preaching peace. And then when you preach peace, this is where you see funding from many international donors. And preaching
So
peace.
what's the point? Make the point.
So the point is that we should not be distracted with NGOs that come up today and start pushing peace. We thank him we thank the Comrade for his survey, but we believe that at this moment we want people that can stand up now and start telling us the truth and start speaking truth to power. We don't want to start romance. This is what Agobala did last week. He had a conference with Northwest University. And he was preaching peace. He was talking about the same peace that the Comrade is talking about. It's as if we now want to forget about the killings and then start talking about peace. So I think where the Comrade, we should not be distracted. The history of liberty and freedom is a history of resistance and endurance. If you open all the history books, you will see that there was fight, there was resistance, there was endurance.
Thank you. I must take a call from Ground Zero. Before Eric goes. Hello.
Hello, Secretary.
Hello. Calling from where, sir?
Yes, I'm calling from Gokotunja, Secretary.
All right. Quickly, what is on your mind?
Yes, if you listen very keenly to Eric Chinje, you will understand that he is speaking from the both side of his mouth. He is playing the middleman's role, so that at the end, even if Ambazonia is the winner, he would be on their side, or even if it comes out that it is a one Cameroon, he will belong. So what I want him to know is that Barrister Tumansang told him that peace will be consequential towards Ambazonian war. We don't want peace, but it will be a consequence of what we want.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you for making it sharp. All right. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Comrade Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Calling from where? Germany?
From Germany, exactly. Now, it's good you brought my neighbor. These are people from Batu, and I had to follow up what Barrister Martins asked him about the shortcomings of his surveys. I want to know whether in his report or that their survey, he put those shortcomings on his report, especially the one with lack of internet in the real heart of this fight. Did he mention all those shortcomings in his report to be very, very objective. That's all I want to ask.
All right. Thank you, sir. I will leave it there.
Okay.
Eric, I'm sure you listen to all these callers. They seem to think that
Yeah.
uh, we are just
I
looking for
got
some
all questions.
way of peace without
Yeah.
any settlement to all the havoc that this war has rocked the entire Amazonian population. You
Yes.
want the same educational system. You want the same legal system. You want all the infringements to continue. You just want normalcy and peace. Don't you think that you are on the wrong side of the issues here?
Let me react to the questions, and then maybe your question is a fourth question. Let me say this from our friend from Gonkatuja, who says I'm speaking from both sides of my mouth. That I want to be in a position to play in Amazonia if it becomes a republic, and in Cameroon if the Cameroon government succeeds. Look, I feel I will not disparage him. All I can say is at 70, and I'll be 70 in a few months.
You look quite young to
I'm
be 70, Eric.
I'm Yes, I'm no longer fighting to see where God has kept me here for 30 plus years in these United States, and I can stay here for the rest of whatever is left of my life. So I'm not fighting for myself. I feel so he should understand that. He should understand that this is not a battle about me. It's about a country I belong to and I love. And I've stated my position clearly in this interview as in all the other interviews I've done. So no, I'm not. If he thinks I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, so be it. I will. God will ask me when I go, what did you do with what I gave you? That's the question my maker will ask me, and I will answer. In other words, everything I'm doing now is an answer to God's question. What did you do with what I gave you? And that's all I'm trying to do. And I'm a single human being. I don't know where this will take me. I'm trying to do the best I can, and I pray if I do it. With regard to our friend from Switzerland, again, I believe that if we don't, in the absence of peace, there can be no development. I come from a development background. I've been at the World Bank and at the African Development Bank, all working on trying to get nations to put in place development policies that can guarantee a better quality of life for their people. That's all I'm trying to do. So, peace for me, which is the basic, the most fundamental condition for peace, for development. That's why I am stuck to the notion of peace. If peace is not what we want, well, then I'm mistaken, and it's only a mistake. My seeking for peace will not one life will be lost because Eric Chinje is trying to work on peace. I'm working on it because it's my only way to understand the basis of development in any country. So, my friend from Switzerland, I'm sorry. I'll continue to pursue peace. And I'm not sure, we may never agree on that, but that's the way it is. And with regard to the shortcomings of the survey, I was the first to say that. This survey has a lot of shortcomings, but for us, it provides an elemental fact that we can base our work on. We did not want to go into the world. We did not want to engage with organizations and nations, whether it's the United Nations or the United States, Canada or Switzerland. We did not want to engage with them without having a sense of what we're talking about. So this allows me and allows those who work with me to be able to say, well, we need even the referendum you're talking about. We need to sit around the table, and these are the ideas that range from what we put out various options to those who gave their opinions to us, and they chose freely. And we are an independent outfit. There was a hint that people are creating NGOs to make money. Let me reassure all this, the person who asked the question, I think it was our friend from Germany, but let me reassure you, since we created the CPI, we've not received $1 from anybody. As a matter of fact, all of us are bound to make contribution to this organization for the work it is doing. And all the resources, all the money we've sent out has come from our collective efforts, not from anybody giving us. it's been the other way around. So I
All
hope, I
right.
don't know. Mhm.
All right. I don't know whether you have.
Sorry, can I just say a word before Mr. Eric leaves, please? Just one word.
Okay.
Hold on,
Please,
Martin. Hold on,
if you
Martin.
carry
Hold on
out
a
a
second.
study,
Ma-
no, please, just one word. If you carry out a study where the results are very different from other existing results, we use something they call triangulation of methodologies, where the first methodology, I know you used a survey. A survey is a quantitative approach, which is a form of what we call logical positivism. So you had to go now for an interview to now try and see you do some non-probabilistic sample to interview some people to see the salient points that are coming. Why is the reason that the thing has dropped from 80 or whatever to so that you can get from the interviews the full picture of the thing before you go out to the world. I believe going out with such a result is premature. Or the best thing is get some other people to carry out a similar study and let's see whether the results will come out similar. I
Well,
really
my
recommend that you hold on with this study
barrister,
until better studies are done before you go to the world.
we, we've done
That's
what
all.
in yeah. Well, thank you so much for saying that. But the fact is that in the 8 years of war, no, there's been no other survey. Cardinal Toomey did his before the war started. So if in 8 years nothing has happened, at least I agree that this is a beginning. Maybe, and we clearly need to do more. And if you look at, I think in the write up, it is clearly stated that this is only the beginning. And I've said it here. This is only the beginning of what we see as a long process. So somebody else, if this provokes somebody else to do a better survey, why not? We did it
all
with
right.
very minimal resources. So yes, I agree with you. More work needs to be done, but based on what I see as my role and the work and where we see ourselves coming in, this was the place to start. We just needed to have the arguments to be able to make a case. And
All right.
as I say,
Wonderful.
it's only the
Eric,
beginning.
I really want to thank you for taking time to be
Thank
on the show. What
thank you, Chris. Thank you.
all that I will ask from you, from your survey is, I think the best route to go is for all of us who want a solution and not just peace to come together and say to the United Nations, these are the statistics, this is the data we have gotten from the people themselves, not from anybody, the leaders in the diaspora, but from the people themselves. How about we join hands and pressure the United Nations to supervise a referendum back at home? Because I'm telling you, you take your data to La République du Cameroon, they will say you are Anglophone, you are not supporting us. We go, they will say these are separatists, they will not. So I think we stand the chance of pressuring the United Nations system with data as yours to see that they can agree to supervise a referendum in this case. I will give you the last word.
Yes, we are willing to work with you and with anybody else to move us to a place of normalcy. I call it peace. That's precisely what we want to do. If you want us to inform you as we go along and debate our approach, we are willing to do that. Nothing stops us from doing it. So I'm really happy that you've opened the doors of this platform to me. I'm happy about that. And in return, I want to tell you, I'm totally happy to also open up to you and be sure that we can cross. Look, it's not for me to do what you are doing, and not for you to tell me exactly what I should be doing. Otherwise, it does not enrich the process. So we'll have a richer process when we discuss these issues and discuss the approaches we're taking and move forward towards an agreed goal. And it seems to me, based on this, that we need to first of all agree what we're looking for. So I'm willing to engage in that discussion with you and with your team, Chris, anytime.
All right, all right. Again, thank you very much for taking time to be on the show. You have a great day, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That was Eric Chinje, ladies and gentlemen. I will continue with the phone calls. A lot of people, I see close to 200 missed phone calls. I just can't take all, but I have somebody waiting in London. Hello. 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 I think I lost the caller. All right. Let me get to this is Hassan. Hello. Okay. I lost the caller too. The phone line is open. Go ahead and call. Kennedy, you have a connection problem. I see 185 missed calls. 185. All right, Kennedy, your network is not good. You can go ahead and call back, please. Uh, Go ahead and call. Okay, all right. Comrade Tumasang, that was Eric Chinje, and I don't know whether you are still here. I think you are still
I'm here.
here.
I'm here.
I'd like you to have the last word from Eric Chinje.
To be honest, our approach, Eric Chinje says he's looking for normalcy. That's what La Republique is looking for, normalcy.
Correct.
La Republique is desperate to stop the ghost towns, everything for normalcy. They are talking the same language. They are not talking the root problems. They are not talking the sovereignty issue. They are not talking all the things we are talking about. They want. Eric Chinje says he is a background of development. Comrade Chris, why didn't you ask him the development, your background of, was it a development during war? Is it a development to come and be rebuilding during the war when it is continuing? What type of development background has he got? Why is he fighting for development during war? When the war finishes, will they not develop? La Republique, for 60 years, you don't build a ring road. In the midst of a war, you are forcing yourself to build a ring road. And secondly, there are records that some people within the workers, these contractors, there are B elements there in civilian clothing. Should people allow them to be continuing and they be ambushing our people and killing? So what is he talking about development? I don't buy that story. The development is good, but it's not the urgent matter. The urgent matter now is not development. The urgent matter is for people, the two parties, to come on a table and see whether they can work out a solution.
You are correct,
Sorry?
comrade. You are very correct. And I said to Eric, you cannot be talking about some caterpillars that are burned.
Yeah.
Given the impression
In
those
war, what
missions
kind
are
of
more
development are we
important than
talking
human
about in
life
war?
and human suffering that has gone on in that country for year upon year. All right, hold on, please. Let's take these callers here. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Comrade. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
And some TV interview.
I'm calling from Ground Zero, from Bamenda.
From Bamenda. What is on your mind?
Yeah, it is unfortunate that Eric Chinje has left the platform. I wanted to ask him a question because I know his compound, he comes from Santa, as I know.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to ask him whether between Santa and US, which place does he call a home?
Okay.
But again, I want to congratulate you for bringing people with different opinion, because if we don't start talking to each other, to people with different opinion, we will never win their own.
Exactly. I think the guy from London is it London or Germany, was a little bit ignorant. We don't just bring people here to patronize them. We bring them because they have an opinion, and that opinion doesn't necessarily has to be our own. Now, Amazonians know that there is a survey out there that says only 51% from 86% of Kinatumi, and I think another 86% from CDN. And you find three guys who identify themselves more with the French-speaking people coming to tell us we should believe in their survey. Of course not. It is good that Amazonians out there know this. That was the importance of bringing him here.
Yes,
Comrade Chris, just to add to your point, Just to add to your point,
Okay.
I was told
Can
a
I
long time
continue my
ago
point?
that
Hold
Eric
on, hold
Chinje
on.
is a Babajuk man. That
Okay.
Eric Chinje is a Babajuk man. So some people argue that, but his fathers, they have a compound in Santa and all that. This guy is talking and that guy
Hello.
is in Babajuk.
Hold the
It's
line.
today he has confirmed
Am I
that
still on?
he's, if you trace their
You are still on.
background,
Hold the
they
line.
come from Western Province.
Okay.
This is the first time he has finally confirmed that they come from Western Province. He said it
Right.
himself.
You
That
already
if you
said
trace
something
their background,
I didn't take note of
no, he
immediately
said
you
that. He
mentioned
said
that.
that. No, I'm an Anglophone,
No, you
but
said
my
that. You
trace
said
our
that.
background. I'm from Western Province. But I've always known when somebody confided in me that I should forget that guy is a Baba man.
Right. All right. Let's
That
continue with
he
the
knows
caller here.
their full
Hello.
history.
Hello.
Hello, I'm still on.
Yes, go on quickly, please. 50
Sorry.
seconds.
Okay, what I want to say is that I'm happy with his survey, even though it is 51, but it's still a pass mark. So 51% is still a pass mark. So
Right.
if we continue talking with him, I mean, he will one day join us. I'm sure of that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Hello.
Comrade.
Hello. Did you call early, sir? Earlier?
Yes, please.
Please, so there are so many calls coming in. I would like to talk to someone else. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
From Ground Zero.
Okay, and what is your contribution?
My contribution now for Mr. Eric Chinje.
Okay.
Eric Chinje, Mr. Eric.
Yes, Eric Chinje, yes.
It goes this way. Mr. Eric, I want to ask you whether you realize in this war now Mr. Biabi declare on top we, the Amazonian people. That's one. Two, because when the one for the talk on materials being damaged, we need to consider people where they die, like something for una. So it be important. Why una the two check say na machine they don't burn them, na the one they don't do so, will be important for una we the same. And then I want to talk number three say una fit talk about this ring road, na you only talk about any road where they don't talk for Ambazonia, say they want develop them, they want do them so. If you count how many road where they don't try for say they want taram, they never taram. You go from the side, they on daily basis or on occasional basis when they want to do some that provocata, when they can do some that kind of thing them. They say they want to tar road. They bring caterpillar, can put them show over the whole social media. Say they don't want tar road. This one don't do so, this one don't be so. After 1, 2, 3 months, they pack away. No, only that and if you talk all Indian, you want to go for even for room side, now the same issue. Why it be say when they can't do this, you need to see them for CC the regime need to work well. But when we see something, they don't do them one time so. We focus on all the whole social media. Ambassador don't do like this. Ambassador they do like this. Ambassador they do like this. I think I'm very short and brief for that very place. But make we see any person want come up for a debate. Make it no can detail we say because type we don't have a past time we need for the way we preach this thing. We will preach and we will not be people for come in join we. And due to his sense of whether he do his sense on one how he do his sense of best known to him. We stand for Ambazonian and for free Ambazonian. They would nothing we will take read that words from Wamop. I mean nothing. No go take them. Even when I did for diaspora and I talk say wait. We back at home here till the last man standing. Now my word in that. Good evening.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, Eric has gone and he cannot answer you. Thank you for the call. Hello.
Hello, Comrade Chris.
Hello,
greetings
sir.
From the Netherlands. Yeah, greetings from the Netherlands. This is Mate Zenikov.
Oh, wow. Good to hear your voice, sir. What is the contribution?
No, Happy New Year, first and foremost, to you and your team at ABS. And yeah, actually, it's rather so unfortunate that we have people like Eric Chinje. They want to make themselves relevant today. Yes, we know that Eric Chinje used to have a voice in those former days, but he failed to use his voice as a person in regard to his situation in the Cameroon. But today, he protected his interests and those who work with him. And now he's coming up with some sort of survey and stuff like that. Yes, good enough. He's almost 70 years, as he said. Let him enjoy his free life wherever he is, and let the Southern Cameroon and Amazonian fight on with their war. Because what kind of development is he talking about? At least he could have started by saying, okay, let's have some justice first. Yeah. And then before we can go on to look about some other measures that can be implemented along that. We are talking about development. Who develops during war period? Just like my fellow comrade Barrister Tumasang said, that for over 30 years, Biya himself stood in Bamenda and announced a ring road. He could not fulfill nothing, nada. And now that bullets are flying all over, around and around, he's poor. He cannot even pay the army. He cannot even pay the civil servant. They are pretending that they want to construct road because they are relying on the international community for development fees, and let them sit behind and wait. We don't even need dialogue with the Cameroon. We are going to chase them and pull them out of Amazon. They will be begging for the dialogue and they will not receive. Look, the oxygen tank has burst. There's no air in Yaoundé again. The regime's colonies are all collapsing. Look, anyway, this is 2024. It's the worst period for most of these Francophone African countries. So thank you very much for bringing us again once on your platform so we can share some ideas.
Thank you.
Let people like Eric follow their roots and go back to his origin. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Comrade Chris.
Good afternoon, sir. This is the Honorable Sama, I guess.
Yes, he's the one.
All right, go on, sir.
Eric Chinje don't really miss me today, but I sure say to still listen for this message. I hear somebody describe Eric Chinje like an icon. That person made a terrible mistake. Eric Chinje is not an icon. Even if he was one, he lost the title of being an icon. For an icon is somebody that started with an opinion and dies with that opinion like Nelson Mandela, and not people like Eric Chinje that have long forgotten of what they set us to do in that country. I've listened to Eric Chinje them now freedom fighters, but Eric Chinje now a mess. Listen to Eric Chinje. Jesus Christ became for set the captives free. Now, so the Bible tells we, where will be captives? Captives are those who are inside prison. The Shiroko Day, Jesus can remove them from prison. Will they be free? Justice. Jesus is inside prison. He tell the prison and say, more than they inside prison there, and then get peace inside prison here. If Jesus will come now with that kind of message for the captives, then we set up for even Tony today, still kill him for the next 1 billion times, make it die. But Eric Chinje them, they tell we prisoners. I wonder if Eric Chinje if he stand for any Southern Cameroon before, when he don't lost his family member, he tell him say, no, make we forget about the die where we don't die. And embrace peace, yeah, because we don't need justice within a peace. Peace in the graveyard. These are the type of things that Eric Chinje is going about preaching. Eric Chinje talks, say, him do a survey for Southern Cameroon as 51% with a sham survey, 51% in the talk say they want total independence. But Eric, the one talk say, though that 51% he want total independence, make the 51 follow the minority for remain with La Republic. Oh, well, it don't make itself today clear.
All right. All right.
So nobody should ever listen to Eric again. Thank you.
I hope you will come back and listen to you. All right. Thanks for the call.
Just one point, Comrade Chris.
Hello.
Eric Chinje, when I mentioned the thing
Thomas,
about Mo Ibrahim.
1 second. 1 second from this. For this caller, I already picked it. Hello. 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 All right. Hello.
Hello, Comrade Chris.
Hello, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
Yeah, this is Ben from Berlin.
From Berlin. All right. What is on your mind, sir?
Yes, I must comment that Eric has crossed the carpet already.
To where, sir?
to our side.
To our side? Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Pretty sure. You remember, this is not the first time that Eric is coming to your show, right?
This is not the first time, correct? The first time he was on the hot seat. I remember that.
Yes, and you remember his line of argument was a very hard liner of separate of the Federalists.
Yes.
But this time around, Eric is very soft, and for the first time, Eric is telling you that he is not ready to go back to the east of the Mongol. In other words,
I don't think so. Right? That is your opinion.
That's what he said. Not what he said. He said he's not ready to go back to the east of the Mongol. So, Eric, today, in my opinion, has crossed the carpet. It's just a matter of time. It is an Amazonian.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Hello.
Yes, this is Divine Chamukong. I'm calling from Maryland.
Another veteran from CRTV. Hello, Divine. Good to hear your voice.
Hello, Chris. Hello, my senior brother, Eric Chinje. Hello to the very distinguished lawyer on the set. This is a great debate, and we should be having more of this. Debates where people are not screaming at each other, but who debate which people can sensibly, dispassionately argue their positions. I'm not going to take too much time in any preliminary statements. Let me go straight to the questions. Chris, you people have heard all these references to South Sudan, Eritrea. Is that the template which we should be fighting for independence? Because they have nothing. Believe me, I'm saying this because if that is what independence means or should bring to Southern Cameroon, you are moving from frying pan to fire.
So what are you, if I may get you right, what are you talking about when you reference South Sudan? Are you talking about the process to their independence or South Sudan as an independent country at the moment?
I'm talking about South Sudan as an independent country at the moment, and I'm talking about Eritrea. We know what Isaias Afwerki, who presented himself as the Moses of Eritreans, we know what he has become today. We know what South Sudan, we know what Eritrea looks like today. We know what South Sudan looks like today. So that's just a quick remark I wanted to make, and I'd like you to respond to it and the lawyer. But my question is, and this question I address it to the people who are referencing polls and so on. Eric Chinje rightly said that polls encapsulate people's feelings for a moment. So polls don't reflect people's feelings over time. But having said that, what was the question, whether in Cardinal Tumi's polling or in Eric Chinje's polling, was the question, do you want independence by war or independence? Because they could mean different things.
Well, how will you get independence, Divine? If you want, if assuming you supported a free and independent Ambazonia, how would you want it? You go and pick it.
Chris, are you getting me?
I'm getting you.
The reason is this, why this is very important for people to know is just, if you ask my daughter, do you want independence? Yes, I want independence. Everybody wants independence. So that's the results. But if you say, do you want independence by war, given the situation that people are seeing today,
where?
Chris, you know the situation on the ground. People are being executed publicly. People are being buried alive.
But Divine,
so if you
I'm a little bit surprised you are saying this, because you have heard the saying that freedom is not given, it is taken.
Chris, here's my last question to you. Let me ask you this question, pointed question. Given what people see now, Eric had asked you, who is the leader of this? I was listening for that, I didn't get. Given what, now let me ask the question so that I can make space for that people to dial in. Given what people see today, among you people, when I say you people, I'm referencing people who present themselves as leaders. What should make Southern Cameroonians think that if that independence came today would be any different from the experiences in Eritrea and South Sudan? That's my question to you. Why should people trust you, given what we are seeing today?
Well, I get your question, but we cannot sit here and postulate about what would happen to Ambazonia without having Ambazonia. Eritrea is Eritrea. South Sudan is South Sudan.
Is why it is important to ask this question. People need to trust you.
No, I think it's a defeatist. I think it's a defeatist.
And I want to conclude and get off the line. In other words, the end. The means should explain the end, not the end.
No. I think you are absolutely out of place. It is like saying that, well, the Francophones should not join, Bamilekis should not join La République du Cameroun because the La République du Cameroun will keep on killing them as they did during the Maquisard's day. If you go by that argument, the Bamilekis would still be fighting today.
Chris, Eric Chinje and my learned lawyer there, you are saying, Chris, you are saying that, well, let's get independence and figure out what next.
No, that is not what we are saying. We are saying that, that's not what we are saying. We are saying that people like you are trying to be so cautious about an Ambazonia like South Sudan or Eritrea doesn't happen. Come in. We're saying you guys come in with those ideas. Let's build. You cannot sit by the fence and only thinking that it's going to turn out to be South Sudan. It's going to turn out to be Eritrea. That is a problem. And this is happening only.
Lawyer can respond to it.
Yeah, okay. Comrade Tumasan, go on, please. Comrade Tumasan,
I don't even know what his question is. Comrade Chris, I'm fighting for sovereignty to get my sovereignty. Once I get it, what I do with it is my business. I might decide to make a democracy. I can even decide to make a dictatorship. I can decide to do whatever. I'm not fighting for the post-independence Ambazonia. That fight might come later. I'm fighting for the one for today, to get that sovereignty first. Whatever happens, let it happen. You think if they give me a choice to have Ambazonia like Eritrea or to have Ambazonia like South Sudan or to stay with La République, I would choose to stay with La République. I would go for South Sudan option. I would go for Eritrea option. Ambazonia like Eritrea is 1,000 times better than Ambazonia under La République. So I'm moving the right direction. I might not be scoring 100, but I'm scoring maybe 80. So I don't even see his problem. Let him forget about post-independence. Independence is still a long way to go. Why am I bothered about that? I have a problem now, which is the independence. Let me try and grab it first.
Okay, wonderful. I don't know whether Divine heard that, but hello. All right, that was Divine Chamukong there, another CRT. It appeared like they were born by the same mother anyway. They seem to think all the same. All the people from CRTV. All right, let's get back to the phones.
They've spent so much time with these francophones, they think like them.
Hello.
Hi, Comrade Chris.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Okay. All right, good evening, Comrade Chris. I just want to chip in something that one of the comrades said there.
Okay.
So one thing that I realized from the interview today is the fact that Eric Chinje has already crossed the carpet to our side. And the reason I'm saying this is because he has conducted a survey that is giving us that opportunity to tell the Republic, yes, this is a time for you to come for a negotiation. He is setting La République up for failure. If La République is not careful, they are going to jump in and say, oh, the Ambazonian people don't want the independence and they can do a referendum now. So just think about what Eric Chinje has done. He is very knowledgeable about what he has done. He doesn't want to make it seem like Ambazonians want to go. He wants to go.
I guess you are playing the devil's advocate here, right?
That's true. But Eric Chinje has crossed the carpet. His language can tell.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. You are the second person with that opinion. All right. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, Comrade Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I am doing excellent, Dr. Ngwambe. How are you, sir?
No, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. You know, very interesting show today. I'm calling in because I wanted to address 2 points. One by Eric Chinje and the other one by Divine Chamokong. I think that's his name.
Yes.
So with regards to what Eric Chinje said about South Sudan, yes, it is correct that John Garang was fighting to keep Sudan together, but ultimately he was fighting for a federation. So when you see our brothers who are of Ambazonian descent and they think that they're going to get a federation with La Republic du Cameroon through peaceful means, it's a big fat lie, because even in countries where they did want a federation, they had to fight for it.
Correct.
John Garang was fighting for a federation, and God bless the dead, and it's unfortunate let me not say it's unfortunate he passed. I'm glad that he passed away, because it gave an opportunity for South Sudan to properly campaign for their full independence, which was defined in their comprehensive peace agreement. So, if you want a federation, you have to fight for it. You're not going to get it through peaceful means. So let anyone who is thinking about that, they need to get that through their thick skulls and realize that what Ambazonians are doing is the right thing. You have to fight for what you want. You're not going to get it through peace or begging for it.
Yeah.
So that's point number one. With regards to our brother, Divine Chamakong, asking what can Ambazonians expect from us if we are to have our country. Comrade Divine, or my brother Divine, if you look at the way the interim government has conducted its affairs, has conducted its things, the LGAs, right? The LGAs and the counties, we elect our leadership. We choose our leadership, and we change our leadership, and we hold our leadership accountable at the local level. In La Republic du Cameroon, that does not exist. It is Yaoundé who appoints the governors. It is Yaoundé who appoints the SDOs of the local levels. And it's Yaoundé who is expected to hold those people accountable, because the local people can't hold them accountable. In Ambazonia, we're not going to have that, which is why we refer to ourselves as the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, because when we have our independence, our counties and LGAs are going to be in a federation with each other, and you're going to have those two levels of government, where you have the federal level coming from Boya, and then the local level making decisions about what needs to be done, what needs to be fixed, without us waiting for recommendations or oversight from Boya. That is going to be the biggest difference between Ambazonia and La Republic du Cameroon. If you step out of your road and you see there's a pothole on your road, you're not going to be waiting for Boya to tell you to fix that road. You'll wait on the capital of Lebi Alem or the capital of Menji to know that road has an issue. You go there and you lay your complaint, and they come and they fix that road. You don't wait for them. So he shouldn't be worried about the system that we're going to have, because the federation that they're denying people now is the federation that we are going to give our people inside an independent and sovereign Federal Republic of Ambazonia. So if he did not know that, that's unfortunate. If he chooses not to be a part of our system to see how we conduct our affairs, that's his fault for choosing to be ignorant. But the truth of the matter is that it is the local level that is going to be governing the affairs of our people, not Boya.
All right. Thank you, Comrade. I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
We've got some technical issues here. It seems like our system is being hacked into or something like that. I see some movement here on the screen. I don't know where that is coming from. Comrade Martin, I give you, please, if you are still there, to
I'm here.
this up, and let's call it a night.
Yeah, Comrade Chris, I think, to be honest, I don't know the purpose of this interview, of this report, whether when they take it to go to international communities and be going elsewhere, brandishing that, it's 51%. So they say what you are saying, that within the error, coefficient of error, therefore, it might be that majority are actually choosing to stay with La Republique. It's a very dangerous result to be taking out there and be trying to be showing the international community. As I said, if you combine this result of 51% and 50, together with the campaign of Capo Daniel and Co, that independence is no more viable or feasible, you could see that there is a big picture to try and brainwash that, to forget the concept of independence or to convince us that now many people don't want the independence again. I think there is a big picture going out there, masterminded by the Republic to get a predetermined outcome. So some of these studies, me, I doubt them whether they are altruistic. They are just spending their money to be doing it to serve no purpose. They want to look for injustice. No, they don't want to look for justice. They want to look for normalcy. What is his business is normalcy. Eric Chinje say he wants to do his business in Santa. That his house, he can't go there. His shop, he can't do. He's coming up with some strange stories about his house and his shop. So I don't think these people as if they are just going for the material things, not what we are fighting for. Thanks. Hello? I think the thing is ended anyway.